Quadrants, we have 4 quadrants, and the properties of the signs or the signs of the functions, this is x and this is y. Okay, كنا هنا ده positive and positive وده negative and positive. طبعا دي sine and cosine. هنا negative and negative. هنا positive and negative. Okay, هنا all of them, all the functions are positive. هنا كان sine and cosec are positive. مش كده؟ هنا كانت tan and cotan are positive. وهنا كانت sec and cosine are positive. Okay, فهنا كنا بنقول all، هنا بنقول s، هنا بيقول tan، وهنا بيقول cosine، استك، بنقول كده. اوكي، كمان في نفس الكوردينيتس، نفس السيستم، قلنا كان فينا ساين 90 minus theta equals cosine theta. Cosine 90 minus theta equals sine theta. وtan 90 minus theta equals cotan theta. اوكي، هنا كان sine 180 minus theta، دي كانت theta and 180 minus theta. هنا كانت theta and 180 plus theta. هنا كانت theta and 360 minus theta or theta and negative theta. The same. Sine 180 minus theta equals sine theta. And cosine 180 minus theta equals negative cosine theta. And tan 180 minus theta equals negative tan theta. يبقى only the sign here is still as her its sign. هنا لو قلنا tan 180 plus theta equals tan theta, but sine 180 plus theta will be negative sine theta because the sign in the third quadrant is negative. Sine is cosine 180 plus theta equals negative cosine theta. So the tan keeps the sign in the third quadrant. What about the fourth quadrant? Cosine 360 plus theta minus theta equals cosine theta. But sine 360 minus theta equals negative sine theta. And tan 180 minus theta equals negative tan theta. قلنا هنا all positive, all the trigonometric functions in the first quadrant are positive. In the second quadrant, the sign only and its reciprocal are positive. In the third quadrant, tan, ده what كان الساين الكوسيك. In the fourth quadrant كان الكوزاين and sec. لاحظنا هنا في second quadrant هنا كان الساين is positive. So sine, the property in the angle in the second quadrant is theta and 180 minus theta. Then sine 180 minus theta equals sine theta. Cosine equal negative cosine. Tan equal negative tan because only the sine keeps its sign in the second quadrant. And in the third quadrant, the tan keeps its sign, but sine and cosine will change their signs. Fourth quadrant, the cosine only keeps the sign. Okay. شوف example كده على الحاجات دي. بيقول if 2 sine x plus 1 equals 0 and x is greater than 180 and less than 270 and لا A and A عشان تحطش في الكوردينيتس اهو A and A and cosine B equals 5 negative 5 over 12 and B is greater than 90 and less than 180. Find sine A plus B, we studied it last year, and cosine 180 plus A, this number A, and this number B, minus 2 sine 180 plus B. Okay. To solve this one, كله معايا? To solve this one, you have to graph the figure. You have two figures or one figure. You can graph them in one figure. ازاي in one figure? The first angle 2 sine A plus 1 equals 0. 2 sine A plus 1 equals 0. Then sine A equals negative 1 over 2. And A is in the third quadrant. Then we can graph it in the third quadrant. And this is A. And the opposite will be, sine is opposite over hypotenuse. So the opposite is negative 1 and hypotenuse will be 2. And this is, okay, 1, 2 root 3. It will be negative root 3 because it is in the opposite direction of the positive. Okay, this one. And the second, you can graph it here also or in another graph as you like. Cosine B, the B in the second quadrant. Okay, you can graph it in another graph like this one. الأساتذة معايا ولا الناس نايمة برضو كالعادة؟ الأساتذة معايا؟
معاك يا مستر.
ده بجد انتوا متأكدين انكم معايا؟ اوكي هنسأل دلوقتي نشوف الناس عاملة ازاي. In the second quadrant because B is between 90 and 180 is in the second quadrant. تمام؟ ناخد دي دول. angle B and cosine B negative 5 which is adjacent over 12 لا 13 عشان ما يبقاش في fractions لا 13. So the third side from Pythagorean theorem will be 12. So we have the two graphs of two angles A and B. You need sine A plus B. Sine A plus B, as we studied last year, it has a property of sine, the sum of two angles. Sine A plus B, it is a formula. Sine A cosine B plus cosine A sine B. And you can substitute. From these two figures, you can find sine A, sine B, sine C, and sine A equals negative 1 over 2. Then cosine A will be negative root 3 over 2, and the tan A will be negative 1 over negative root 3. It will be 1 over root 3. You have to know that the sine is negative and the cosine is negative and the tan is positive because the angle is in the third quadrant, and in the third quadrant the tan is positive. Okay, and this one you need sine B, cosine B, and tan B. Sine B will be 12 over 13, positive because it is in the second. Cosine B, negative 5 over 13, negative because cosine in the second is negative, and the tan B will be negative 12 over 5. It's okay. نحل. Sine A, or sine A is negative half, times cosine B, which is negative 5 over 13, plus cosine A, which is negative root 3 over 2, times sine B, which is 12 over 13, 5 over 26, plus negative 12 root 3 over 26, تبقى 5 minus 2 root 3 over 26. What about the other one? Cosine B, the number B. You get number A. Number B, cosine 180 plus A. Cosine 180 plus A. It's opposed in the third quadrant for any angle. But, okay, cosine 180 plus A in the third. In the third quadrant, the cosine must be negative. So it will be negative cosine A. So it will be negative. Where is cosine A? Is negative root 3 over 2. It will be negative root 3 over 2, which is positive root 3 over 2. Yani you will find the first as a property of any angle. Okay? And when you finish, you will find it positive or negative according to the property. Then put the value of cosine A or cosine B from the graph that you drawn. Okay. Number الفين اللي بعديها sine 180 plus B in the second quadrant. It will negative sine B. It will be negative, and the sine B is 12 over 13. It will be negative 12 over 13, and you can complete the expression. Then number B will be cosine 180 plus A, which is root 3 over 2 minus 2 times sine 180 plus B, which is negative 12 over 13, and calculate the answer. Okay. بيقول if 3 cosine x plus 5 equal 0 أو خليها A برضو, and A is greater than 180 and less than 270, and tan B minus 1 equals 0, and B is greater than plus or greater than 270 and less than 360. Find sine A minus B. دي number 1. Number 1. Number 2, sine 180 minus A minus 2 tan 360 minus B plus 3 cosine 180 minus B. اوكي, هاخد الاتندنس لغايه ما نحل دول. يبقى تاني الجراف must be in this figure like the papillon figure, اسمه كده. Okay, the graph don't make the sides x and y together. Okay, طيب دي solve. تعال نشوف كده. Number 1, sine A minus B. The formula is sine A cosine B minus cosine A sine B. What is sine A? Is negative 4 over 5. You can write them before you solve. Cosine B, B فين ال B? D1 negative 1 root 2. Cos tan equal negative 1. Okay? Cosine B will be 1 over root 2 minus cosine A is negative 3 over 5. Sine B will be negative 1 over root 2. Okay? And find the answer. What about number 2? Number 2, sine A 180 minus A equals, in second quadrant will be sine A. Sine A will be negative 4 over 5. Tan 360 minus B. Tan 360 minus B equals negative tan B, because in the fourth quadrant, which is negative tan B. Tan B is negative 1, it will be positive 1. And cosine 180 minus B, cosine 180 minus B equals negative cosine B, which is negative 1 over root 2. And by using this one, you can complete this figure. Okay? يلا حلوة. equal sign دي negative 4 over 5 minus 2 times sine 360, which is 1, plus 3 cosine 180 minus negative 1 over root 2, and complete the solution. Okay, أساتذة. We are going to revise the formula of cosine and tan tomorrow. Let me revise only the sine today. 2 sine A minus B plus cosine 180 plus A minus 2 tan 360 minus B. Okay, try to solve it